Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are unpacking a truly fascinating societal paradox. We're looking at the reality of marriages in Japan that are, well, entirely dead on the inside. Yet legally, publicly, and structurally, they remain completely intact. We're going to explore exactly how and why this happens, and dive into the hidden forces that keep a broken relationship totally frozen in place.
So why exactly do cold and distant marriages stay together? That is the core mystery we're trying to solve today. Why do so many marriages still look like they're working perfectly fine to the outside world, when in reality, the partners are completely cold and distant from one another behind closed doors? I mean, what keeps two people in this state of suspended animation? It's not just a simple matter of falling out of love. Actually, it's this complex web of cultural expectations, financial realities, and massive psychological barriers. To really understand this, we have to look past the smiling holiday cards and peek into the quiet, often incredibly lonely hallways of the home.
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1. The public illusion versus the quiet reality.
To really wrap our heads around this, we have to look at the dynamic almost like a giant iceberg. There's what everyone sees above the surface, right? And then there is the stark, quiet truth hiding underneath. On the outside, they're still husband and wife. They attend school functions together, share a mailing address, and perfectly maintain that social expectation. But inside the home, the reality is a complete void. It isn't just that there's no warm conversation, though yeah, that is certainly gone. The partners might eat at different times, sleep in separate rooms, and literally go weeks without exchanging more than a logistical sentence about groceries or bills. But what's even more striking here is that there aren't even any arguments. The passion, the communication, even the fiery negative communication of a fight, it's just entirely gone, replaced by a quiet, neutral emptiness. You know, when a couple is arguing, there's still a fundamental desire for the other person to understand them. There's still a fight for the relationship. But in these silent marriages, that fight has been totally abandoned. They've essentially entered a permanent ceasefire where the goal isn't resolution, but just peaceful coexistence without any actual interaction.
Section 2. 3 hidden pressures. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that this frozen state isn't just a random occurrence.
These couples are actually being held in this holding pattern by massive structural forces. It's not just a lack of willpower. Let's break down the 3 distinct pillars of pressure that compound on these marriages. First up, we have profound social pressure. In Japan, there's a strong cultural concept, often referred to as sekinte, which translates loosely to social appearance or reputation. The immense weight of societal expectations and the stigma that can still surround a fractured family makes keeping up appearances absolutely paramount. A divorce doesn't just affect the couple, it ripples out to extended family, colleagues, the whole shebang. Second, the economy plays a massive role. The sheer financial reality of splitting a single household into 2 separate lives is daunting. With the reality that a single income is rarely enough to comfortably support a divided family, especially considering the financial vulnerability women often face post-divorce, a lot of folks simply cannot afford to leave. And third, the responsibility for children. There's a deeply ingrained belief that an intact family structure is essential for a child's social standing, affecting everything from school admissions to their own future marriage prospects. So these 3 forces, society, economy, and children, they basically lock together, creating a nearly impenetrable wall that makes the very idea of divorce seem impossibly difficult.
Because of those 3 massive pressures pressing down on them, we arrive at a very specific outcome. Couples make a conscious, highly calculated choice to stay together. They choose to maintain the illusion and endure the silence, even though the relationship is no longer warm. The structural pressure on the outside basically forces them to accept the coldness on the inside. And while this is a specific phenomenon we're looking at in Japan, it's actually a deeply relatable human survival mechanism. When faced with overwhelming external friction, human beings will often choose internal suppression. We compartmentalize our unhappiness because blowing up our entire lives just feels way too dangerous. But the emotional toll of this calculated choice is profound. It means living every single day with a roommate you just happen to be married to, actively suppressing your own needs for companionship just to keep the societal and economic machine running smoothly.
Section 3. The weight of leaving. So, the crucial point is, how do human beings rationalize this day after day?
What is the ultimate psychological barrier that keeps them from just walking out the door? Well, it comes down to relationship inertia, captured perfectly by this insight from our source material. Ending everything feels harder than staying. That is the core revelation right there. It is not lingering affection that binds them. It's sheer, exhausting difficulty. Just think about the administrative mountain alone. In Japan, dividing a household involves complex changes to the family registry, known as the koseki. Then add the social unspooling, having to explain the split to parents, colleagues, and friends. Then add the emotional drain of untangling decades of shared history. The mountain of leaving is just so incredibly high to climb, so they simply stay seated at the bottom. The status quo, no matter how cold or unfulfilling, requires zero extra energy to maintain. Leaving requires an explosion of energy that these couples, drained by years of silent distance, simply do not possess.
And that brings us to a final provocative thought. What happens when the sheer effort of ending a relationship outweighs the pain of staying in it? The result is these perfectly preserved public illusions, masking a deeply lonely private reality. It is a tragic testament to relationship inertia. But it also serves as a crucial reminder to examine the unseen forces shaping our own connections. How often do we let the logistics of life dictate the quality of our love? How often do we choose the quiet comfort of the known over the turbulent difficulty of seeking genuine happiness? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope exploring these silent marriages helps you grasp the incredible complexity of this dynamic and leaves you with a profound understanding of the hidden currents that can dictate human relationships.